in a word to answer that whole thing, no. We do have, at the end of the first year, we developed a strategy, and it was a long term. We kind of broke it down into certain time frames, but no. The answer, the detailedness that you're looking for, no. We continue to work on refining and kind of pulling together what do these industries look like. I mean, one of the interesting things is when I started this, I mean, we'll very soon have kind of layers that you'll be able to go under, say, advanced manufacturing and click on aerospace. Like I say, when I started this, I was told, there's no aerospace left in San Diego, there's no manufacturing. Now, from what I've read about it now, compared to what it used to be like 30, 40, 50 years ago, you're right, it's not. But it turns out there's a lot more than you think, and there's a lot of cross-border relationships around supplying, suppliers and things like that. So as we work together around these, we're beginning to kind of develop these kind of individual strategies and kind of what we think. But we fit kind of our strategy within Sandags and others, kind of what they see for the larger community.
Other questions? Go on.
So how does economic opportunity and development in the region translate into reduced violence in Mexico and poverty in Mexico? I know it's a big question, and there's a lot of elements to that, but I throw it out and let you answer it any way you want.
Well, thank you for asking that question. Mexico, I mean, I could have done the whole evening and talked about the progress that Mexico's made. In spite of all the horrible things that have happened, Mexico's actually made a lot of progress, both in their financial, really, especially in their financial, but it's not the kind of stuff that makes the front page of anything. When you do the due diligence and put in the hard work and strengthen your laws and things like that, it takes time, and it's just not sexy stuff. So economic development, working together like this, is the key to improving the livelihoods, of folks across the border. I mean, I started from the beginning because depending on the group that I would talk to, sometimes people would say, well, I live in this part of the county because it's as far away that, from the border as can be. And still be in San Diego County. And my response always is, okay, so here's one reason why we're doing this. Because if people across the border have good jobs, they won't necessarily want to come here. I mean, it's in our interest to work together towards this end. And the interesting thing is, Mexico has moved into becoming more of a middle-class country. There's more disposable income. There's still huge problems. I won't pretend like that there aren't. It would be dishonest. But working together to address these problems without even having to say we're addressing them, by attracting companies which are good paying companies with skilled jobs that benefit our companies here. And I'll give you an example because I kind of meant to touch on this before. So again, there's a lot of concern about, well, these jobs are going, overseas. Whether they go to Mexico or China, they're still not in the United States. And I go back to my comment about globalization. Globalization is here. Those jobs are gone. They are not coming back to the United States. So the question is, how do we benefit from having Mexico right literally next door to us? How can we figure out a way to work together to benefit? And what I've learned from now, company after company can tell me and show me the numbers and say, okay, I'm a company that has a facility in Tijuana and a facility in Vista, and by having that facility in Tijuana, not only do I get to retain the people in Vista, I'm actually growing the number of people that I can hire. So that's an example where we both win. Long term, of course, doesn't solve all the problems. That's what policy's for.
Mark, you got the last one here, okay?
I've noticed huge positive efforts from the mayors of Baja California.
And-
They've had all kinds of visitations, and we have as part of Heartland, we have a manufacturing venture that goes to Tijuana and El Cajon together. It works very symbiotically, positive for both countries. The biggest problems we've had, and I know there's been all kinds of effort on this, is the time it takes to transport goods across the border. And that's something everybody's been working on. I know the mayor's worked on a long time. Are there approaching breakthroughs on that?
I don't know, breakthrough. Are you gonna get into that in your, you know what, I'm gonna leave that
All right,
for,
but it's something.
yes, it is. And yes, I know the new mayor has made a lot of trips south, but I want you to know that this mayor, when he was mayor, also, I did a lot for promoting not only Cali Baja, but I mean, every time I was at an event across the border, he was across the border. So it's nice to see that it's a trend that's continuing.
And the Innovadora is something we could support.
Yes.
That was a terrific event.
Yes.
We worked on it too. Thank you.
So the reason I go across the border so much, and I'll just start with that, is because it reminds me of when I was in college. Every day across the border, no matter what you're doing, it's like a vacation day from my perspective. I just wanted to start in where.
And I'm going to jump in so we can put your slides up, okay, Jerry?
Okay.
All right, so we got to do a little bit of reset here. So
Let's do it quickly.
we'll do it quickly. All right. So those of you who are on computers 1 through 4, you have a Microsoft PowerPoint button at the bottom. If you're on slides 1 through 4, if you click that, oh, Michael, you're going to change this one out. And if you're on 8, 9 is here, and 10, click that PowerPoint at the bottom. There's a PowerPoint slide there at the bottom.
I'm sorry, I
And then 11
swapped
11 and 12, I know. You'll have to do that.
Well, let me give some comments before you get, because I don't need those slides up for the first ones. but,
Okay.
You know, just to talk a little bit about Mexico before I move into what I was talking about. You know, I don't think a lot of people recognize the importance, but by 2042, which is, it seems like a long ways away, that's not that far away, Mexico's GDP will be higher than Germany's. And I think we all see Germany right now as an economic powerhouse. Mexico's economy will have a greater GDP than that. At that point, you won't see people migrating into the United States for work. You might see the other way around. And we're starting to see the change in the conversation right now between Mexico City and Washington, D.C., where now Mexico City is all of a sudden taking a larger role in guiding that conversation, instead of us standing up as Big Brother saying, we're going to come down and solve your problems. And unemployment is way down in Mexico. Their economy is starting to explode. It's faster than any other country in Latin America. And when you read about Latin America, they always talk about Brazil and Argentina and those economies. Mexico's is surpassing them. And they have a very skilled workforce in the mega region that Christina was talking about. More engineers are being produced there than we're producing here. So I think the future is really bright for the mega region and for San Diego, Tijuana together. The other reason it's so important is we have intertwined economies. Every year, people from Baja California spend $6 billion in San Diego County. They spend that coming across, buying goods and services, going to restaurants, doing all those things. We only spend about $1 billion to $2 billion going south, though, because of the border issues, the time it takes to cross, the fact that people are frightened about Mexico City or Mexico, even though the crime rate and the homicide rate in Tijuana and much of Mexico is less than it is in Detroit, is less than it is in Washington, D.C., less than it is in New Orleans. The State Department didn't tell you that when they put a warning on their website that says don't go to Mexico. they should be putting that warning on saying, don't go to Detroit. I mean, if we were to be intellectually honest, that's exactly what we'd be doing. So there's going to be a change in that relationship that I think is going to be fascinating to watch. And that does create a middle class. And you're seeing the middle class because Walmart's down there, Costco's down there, Target's down there, a lot of middle class institutions that cater to the middle class. And the rapidly growing middle class is growing in Mexico right now. So we know that things are going well. And Christina's mega region has done quite a bit for that. I'm really excited to be part of the San Diego Chamber of Commerce. It's been an organization that's embedded in the history of San Diego. If you look back to 1915, the Chamber of Commerce led the effort to have the California-Panama Exposition in San Diego. At that time, San Diego only had 40,000 citizens. So we're about the size, literally, of La Mesa, smallest city in history to hold an exposition like that. But city leaders got together, spearheaded by the Chamber, that said, we can do this. We can draw huge tourism. We can show off Balboa Park. Exactly what they did. Drew 4 million visitors from around the world into San Diego over a 2-year period to see that exposition, and that's really grown from there. The Chamber of Commerce led the bond drive to build Mission Bay in the 1950s. Mission Bay was a mud flats, as some of you know. Some of you may have grown up in San Diego. Back around that time, there was not a beautiful bay there with beautiful parks and all of that, simply mud, and the Chamber led the drive to do that. The Chamber also was a very vital participant in establishing UCSD. UCSD was given land by the city of San Diego to develop that institution, and the Chamber of Commerce helped raise the money to start building that university that has literally put us on the map now and is an economic driver in this mega region with the research that it produces. We also helped to bring the Super Bowls here, and there have been several of them that were brought here. And they were also, the Chamber also helped to make the America's Cups come here in the 90s and actually helped to produce those events. So the Chamber's been intertwined in a lot of the business development, jobs development in San Diego for a long time. Today we're working with 2 other partners. I shouldn't say 2 other partners. We're working with a lot of partners, but we have 2 or 3 primary partners that we're working with collaboratively, working very hard. These are organizations I think that probably used to compete, and now we have started forming an alliance where we represent jobs growth in San Diego. And those partnerships really revolve around the fact that EDC, the Economic Development Corporation that spawned the mega region, along with a lot of other players, Connect, which handles the innovation economy out of UCSD and San Diego State University, and entrepreneurs from all over, have literally come together to work on 3 traded economies, and I think that that's up somewhere. Dwayne Roth from Connect came up with the 3 traded economies. I'm sorry that's on the bad screen. But what the 3 traded economies really mean is that we have 3 main drivers in San Diego right now that produce about 480,000 jobs. Not a huge number compared to the 1.25 million jobs we have in San Diego. But each of those 480,000 jobs affect 2.5 more jobs created within the county with the economic driving that those things do. So we have the 3 traded economies are the military defense, huge number in San Diego, about 11% of the jobs directly. However, if you really look at what the military does in San Diego, 1 in 4 jobs is related to the military in San Diego, and about $32 billion to the gross product, domestic product of the region. The other one is the, I'm looking up there.
It's convention services?
Convention tourism, that's about 170,000 jobs, I believe. And that is one that also drives San Diego. People always think of low-wage jobs when you think about that, but also think about the fact that all those jobs are synergistic in a way, really revolving around a convention center, revolving around our tourism industry, revolving around a lot of small business, which the Chamber is heavily involved in. So the convention center right now creates about 12,000 full-time jobs. Many of those are small business jobs that service the conventions that come in. Those are the florists, those are the restaurants, those are the caterers, those are the people that rent the equipment, that do all of those sorts of things, along with the people who set those up. The convention center expansion that we've been talking about will produce about another 7,000 full-time jobs. And then it becomes one of the largest contiguous space, it becomes the largest contiguous space convention center on the west coast of North America. At that point, we have a competitive advantage over almost every place in the United States except perhaps New York and Las Vegas, because people come to San Diego. And let me tell you why that's important and why it ties into what happens at EDC, why it ties into what happens with the innovation economy. Every time there's a convention, a high-end convention in San Diego, you get CEOs from companies all over the world who come into San Diego to go to a convention. And some of those people are pretty favorably impressed with what they see out the window of their hotel. They look out, they see a bay. They find perfect weather when they get here, very unlike where they might have come from. And some of those CEOs decide, I'd rather live in San Diego. And they bring a company with them, and it may be a small company, but that's one that starts to build a scale in the clusters that we have. So all these things interlink. And then finally we have the innovation economy, which is all the entrepreneurs, the life sciences, the biotech, the high tech, the wireless, analytics. Analytics, we're the hub of analytics in the United States, big data. More analytics companies in our space than anywhere else. All of those are clusters that are synergistic in that they work together collaboratively to build that infrastructure and to help each other out so that they can attract more engineers, more scientists from around the world. Because when you have clusters, you find that they all want to be there. Companies want to be there, engineers want to be there. And for an engineer, it's simply as simple as saying, if the company that I'm going to work for goes under, then there are a lot of other companies there that need engineers. And that's the type of clustering that creates a lot of job opportunities in San Diego. So EDC is working primarily with the military defense industry and job growth by attracting new companies and retaining companies. The Connect works primarily on the innovation economy, and the Chamber is working on border infrastructure, and we're also working on the tourism industry and getting the convention center built and making sure that we have a robust tourist economy. And we've kind of put those lanes out, they call them running lanes. We work collaboratively on all these things together because they all intersect at some point. So the Cali Baja, the mega region, is directly affected by the border infrastructure, which we're working on. With our Mexico Business Center and with our Smart Border Coalition, they're in partnership with the Cali Baja region because all those things are intertwined, and we work together on each of those issues. Local economy, you see up there, produces about 772,000 jobs, but that means those are jobs that support business in the San Diego region, which means you're not apt to grow a lot because they're going to support what's here, unlike the other jobs that drive 2.5 new jobs for every job that's created there. And that's the reason these three traded economies are so important. The reason we're working together, we're pooling resources. We're affected a lot by external problems. Federal